All right, so we have two equations where it's y equals, so we set them equal to each other. So negative x plus 9 equals 2x. We're going to add x to both sides. And so 9 equals 3x. Divide by 3. And so 9 divided by 3 is 3. So we have x equals 3. And then because we have an actual answer, that's going to make it a 1 solution, with 3 being our first answer. Then you can pick either equation to work with. This time I'll pick the 2x. So we get y equals 2 times 3, because 2x means to multiply. And so we get y equals 6. And so then that finishes off our equation, and there's our 1 solution. Okay? So let's take a look at this equation here. So we don't have such a nice y equals problem, right?
Yeah.
And so what we want to do is we want to solve for one variable in either equation. So I don't care which one, I don't care which equation you use, but you want to find the one that makes the most sense to solve for one of our variables. Well, since this equation has numbers in front of both of our variables, that makes it a little bit harder. But this one, our x is kind of by itself, right?
Yeah.
So that's an easier equation to use to solve with. So what do I mean by that? Well, I'm going to rewrite that equation real quick. And if I want to solve for my x, that means I need to get rid of my y. So to get rid of my y, I'm going to add 8y to both sides. So now I have x equals 8y plus 1. Okay? I don't have an answer yet. I just have a simplified equation. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Now what am I going to do with that? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug it into the other equation. So now I'm going to plug that x into the other equation. Okay, so this is going to come up here, and I'm going to plug it in. Okay, that's what substituting is all about. So let me rewrite that. Okay, so negative 3 times, because 3x means to multiply, but it's not x anymore. Now we're going to use what we said x was. We said x was 8y plus 1. And then I rewrite the rest of my problem. Okay, and so now it becomes something that I'm going to have to work with.
Yeah.
So because I have parentheses, I do distribute. So we get negative 3 times 8y and negative 3 times 1. That's negative 24y minus 3 minus 6y equals negative 3. Are you okay with that so far?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Then I have a y and a y, so I can combine those. They're both negative, so I'm going to add them. I can use my t-chart if I need it. So I get negative 30y minus 3 equals negative 3. Now I can start solving for my y, so I'm going to add 3 to both sides. Negative 30y equals 0, because 3 take away 3 is 0. Divide by negative 30, and I get y equals 0. Okay, so because I have y equals 0, I know that this is going to be a 1 solution of y equals 0. So when I'm writing my answer, 0 is my y, so it's the second thing. Okay, but I'm not done. I need my x. And I know you're like, oh my goodness, this is a long process.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it is that. It's a long process to solve. That's why we're going to take many days to practice this. Okay, so now you can use this equation to find your x. So x equals.
Wait, Miss, when you first started doing these, did you think it was a long process too?
Probably. I don't really remember when I first learned this. I mean, it was back in when I was in high school. So I imagine it took a long time. But now, you know,
Yeah.
I do it all the time, so it comes a little easier to me now, right?
Yeah.
All right, so 8 times 0 is 0, but we do have a plus 1. So there's my x. So x equals 1, and so there's my finished solution, 1, 0. Okay, so anytime that you have a long equation that does not have a nice one like all these other ones we were practicing with,
Yeah.
right? Where they were both equal to y and we could just set them equal to each other. When they're more difficult, solve for one variable like we did here, and then plug it into the other equation to solve for one of our variables, and then you can go back and solve for the other one. Okay? All right, let's do one more, just so that you can see it. All righty.